Hello, welcome to the James Cooley Show. It's your life. I'm your host, Dr. James J.C. Cooley. And wow. I'm just going to say wow. Hey, Todd, get ready to grab you about 8-9 bags of popcorn because you're going to need it.
All right.
Yeah, this is going to be an absolutely fantastic show, and I'm looking forward to this guest that we have on today. Extraordinary. I tell you what, I'm not going to give away Michelle thing to do. But how you doing, Dr. Cooley? How you doing today?
I'm doing great. And, we had a chance to talk to the guest before we got live on the show today. And it's just amazing. I don't think we ever had a guest like this on the show. So this is going to be really interesting. And she's going to, besides talk, about her story, but the specific topic at hand and about this amazing individual that she wrote about in her book that a lot of people may not know about. And
I am excited about it. I tell you what, and Todd, how you doing back in sunny California?
I'm doing great. I'm excited for the show too, and can't wait for it to happen here in about 20 seconds. We're going to lock it into all the platforms.
We're going to lock it into all platforms. Whichever platform you are watching us on, whether it's E36 Television, Transfer TV, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, over 6-8 live platform. Welcome to the show. If you want to be part of the conversation, all you have to do is go to the comments, ask any question that you might have. Now,
here we go.
It's Your Life is sponsored by James J.C. Cooley.
Dr. James J.C. Cooley. The James Cooley Show. It's your life.
Hello. Welcome to the James Cooley Show. It's your life. And I tell you, Michelle and I are in our home studios back in Dallas. I will be back in California real soon, but we're here, and we got this absolutely fantastic guest coming on today to discuss a lot of things. And I tell you, I'm excited to get better understanding of this guest, talk about a book, talk about a lot of things. And I tell you, I'm excited. How you feel, Dr. Cooley? How you feel?
I'm doing good. I'm really excited to talk to this guest today. As I was saying before, we never had a guest like this on the show. and she has a love and a passion for science, but she's going to take it to a different level by talking about the book she has written and the subject matter of her book. So we're definitely interested in this.
Wow. And I tell you what, whichever platform that you're watching us on, whether it's E36 Television, Transfer TV, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, welcome to the show. And over 6 to 8 other live platforms, welcome to the show. If you want to be part of the conversation, all you have to do is just go to the comments. That whichever platform you have watching us on, ask any questions that you might have. I promise you, I get you an answer. Or you can pick up the phone and call our studios at KCBQ, AM 1170 Answer, FM 96.1 in San Diego, AM 1170, and just dial 1-888-344-1170 again. That's 1-888-344-1170. We'll get you an answer. Michelle, please introduce the title of the show, the purpose of the show, and introduce this absolutely fantastic guest.
Yes, the title of today's show is called The Elements of Marie Curie, How the Glow of Radium Lit a Path for Women in Science. And we're having a sit-down discussion with Dava Sobel. She's a Pulitzer Prize finalist and best-selling author. Wow, she's going to talk about Marie Curie's influential career, including being the first woman to ever be awarded a Nobel Prize, how she befriended Albert Einstein and other luminaries of the 20th century physics, and how she inspired generations of young women around the world to pursue science as a way of life. Dava Sobel, again, Pulitzer Prize finalist and best-selling author. Her new book is called The Elements of Marie Curie, How the Glow of Radium Lit a Path for Women in Science. She's also the author of the international best-selling Longitude, the best-selling Pulitzer Prize finalist, Galileo's Daughter, The Planets, A More Perfect Heaven, and The Sun Stood Still in the Glass Universe, and co-author of the illustrated Longitude. She is the recipient of the Individual Public Service Award from the National Science Board, the Bradford Washburn Award, the Kumke Roberts Award from the Astronomical Society of the Pacific, and the Guggenheim Fellowship, among other honors. She's a former New York Times science reporter and currently the editor of the Meter poetry column in Scientific American. She lives in Long Island, New York, and we are so happy to have her on the show. Welcome to the show, Dava Sobel.
Now that's a welcome. Thank you. I'm not used to that.
How you doing, Dave? How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm happy to be here.
We're happy to have you here. Just like Michelle was saying, we have had over 600 and something shows, multiple guests, but I'm excited. I'm real excited about this conversation that we're going to have today. David, can you tell our viewers and our listeners a little bit more about you, where you grew up, why you're so passionate about what you do, and just talk about you in general, because our viewers and our listeners are going to want to know.
Okay. I grew up in the Bronx, New York, right near the Bronx Zoo and the Botanical Gardens. In fact, so near that I could walk to either one of them from an early age. And my whole family was interested in science. My mother worked as a chemist. My dad was the local doctor. So, and because we had his office in our home, his patients and all their problems were a part of our daily lives. I had two older brothers, and nobody ever told me that because I was a girl, I shouldn't be interested in science. And it was what was talked about in our house. And both my parents were really serious readers. So I had the impression from an early age that the best way to get somebody's attention was with a book. I was very fortunate to be able to go to the Bronx High School of Science, even though when I was a student there, the boys were chosen preferentially over girls in a ratio of about 4-1. And this was a public high school, but at that time, nobody thought that was unfair or unusual. It was just the way things were in 1960. And I always loved to write, even in school. I enjoyed writing assignments. I tried all different kinds of writing. And I couldn't really form a picture of what I wanted to do. And no one, even in high school or college, ever suggested science writing, which is how I would describe myself now. I'm a science writer. And it might have been because they didn't realize that was an option. I certainly didn't know anything about it. But very shortly after I finished college, I got a job at a newspaper in upstate New York. And now it was January of 1970. So it was the year of the first Earth Day. And I was hired to work on the women's pages, which meant that I had almost complete freedom to choose the topics I wrote about. So I started interviewing women who were involved in Earth Day activities, who were concerned about the environment, worried about pollution. And I was doing science writing. I just didn't know that that's what you called it. But after all my wanderings and changings of majors and skipping from one school to another in college, within a week of working at the newspaper, I remember feeling, so this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I've felt pretty much that way ever since. So I've worked at a few newspapers, but I've spent most of my career working freelance. And at first that meant writing for a lot of different magazines. But once I started writing books, it meant writing books and being able to really investigate a subject at a very deep level and learn a lot of new things in the course of doing that. And then writing about it as a way to communicate those things with other people.
You know what? You mentioned you went to the Bronx High School of Science. My brother went to Brooklyn Tech. And of course,
Yeah,
the other one, Stuyvesant, I believe.
exactly.
So you had to take a special test to get entrance into those schools. So hard test, but you definitely have to love at least the science field, because I think that's what they focus on and
Yes.
still currently. So, that's amazing. So before we get into the break, can you tell me who was your role model regarding the field of science? I'm sure you had many, but does one stick out?
Marie Curie sticks out because she was famous
Mhm.
as what seemed to be the only woman scientist. And I'm happy to report that she was never the only one. And we'll talk more about that later. But for role models, again, I never could really see myself as a scientist. So although she was inspirational and admirable, I think a more likely role model was probably my own mother and father, doing things in a community that were positive and that they enjoyed doing.
Wow.
Wow.
Hold that though. We're going to take a station break. But as you see, this discussion is heating up. And in the first segment, we're always getting an opportunity to know the guests. But when we come back, We're going to delve deep into. We're going to talk about a book. We're going to talk about a lot of things. And I tell you what, if you want to be part of this conversation, all you have to do is to go to the platform that you're watching us on. Go to the comments, ask any question that you have. I promise you, we'll get you an answer. Or pick up the phone and dial 1-888-344-1170. Again, that's 1-888-344-1170. It's your life, and we'll see you shortly after the break.
There's more stories of greatness to help you overcome adversity. Coming up on It's Your Life with James Cooley.
A Black Man's Point of View is the newest Amazon.com.
Let's go, let's go, let's go. It's the James Cooley Show. It's your life. Doctor James JC Cooley. All right. Hey. The James Cooley Show. It's your life. Dr. James JC Cooley. Hey.
Using humor, wit, and engaging storytelling, James paints a picture about his arrival in a rural Deep South town and realization that life would never be the same. Cooley lays out his struggle to adjust from city life to country life and back again, sharing his hard-earned lessons to educate, encourage, and enlighten our next generation of leaders and heroes. Get your copy of Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet by James J.C. Cooley, available on Amazon and everywhere books are sold.
Let's go. It's the James Cooley Show.
Hello. Welcome back to the James Cooley Show. As It's Your Life, and I tell you what, a fantastic guest. Always first segment, they're getting a little bit more familiarization with the guests, and as you see, this is an extraordinary guest, and we are getting ready to delve deep into her book, and also learn about this absolutely fantastic scientist that she is writing about. And so I tell you what, if you want to be part of the conversation, I'll make it easy for you. Just pick up the phone, call KCBQ, AM 1170 answer, FM 96.1, AM 1170, 1-888-344-1170. Again, that's 1-888-344-1170. David, let's talk about your book, and let's delve deep into it. First of all, the title of your book is "The Elements of Marie Curie and How the Glow of Radiance Lit a Path for Women in Science." Can you tell our audience a little bit more about why you wrote this book, why it's so important, and why it's important that they get better understanding of this, and they need to go out and buy the book?
She is really an inspirational figure for many people. When I was very young, I heard her talked about as a great woman scientist. She was the first woman to win a Nobel Prize, and she's the only person who's ever won both the Nobel Prize in physics and the Nobel Prize in chemistry. And even though she's been dead for about 90 years, people still tell me that she's their hero, that she's the person they emulate. She's the person who inspires them to keep going when things become difficult, because one of the main traits of her character was that she never gave up. She always looked at situations and figured out what she could do, and then set about doing that thing. And because she's so famous, she blocks out all the other women who've ever been scientists. And there's a general feeling somehow that she's the only one, which is very far from the truth. It wasn't true in history, it wasn't true in her day, and it's not true in our day. So when I found out that she had employed or educated about 45 women in her laboratory, I was inspired to write a book that would combine the life stories of those women, or as much as is known about them, with the very famous and deservedly famous Madame Curie.
Wow.
So that was the basic challenge.
What were some of the obstacles that you write about in your book that Madame Curie had to face in being able to evolve into a great scientist and other things that she achieved?
One of the first things she had to overcome was the death of her mother when she was a child of 10. And grief was a constant in her life, beginning in childhood. But she still had a brother and sisters and father who all encouraged her. And she was certainly a girl who was never told that she should not be interested in science. And her next big obstacle was the fact that she was growing up in Warsaw, in Poland, at a time when Russia was in control of that whole region of Poland. So, being a person of Polish culture, she was not able to speak her own language in public. She went to a school where Russian was the language and where she felt that the teachers treated their students as enemies. She did have a few years in a school, girls' school, where all the students and teachers were Polish, and got a lot of encouragement there. And her family, even though they were completely disenfranchised under the Russian authorities, they still had a strong feeling of Polish culture that they nurtured. Another big challenge was that the universities in Warsaw were not open to women. So in order for her to get an education and be able to become a teacher, which was her dream, she had to work for years as a governess to earn money to go to Paris, where the university was open to women, and to be able to afford to live there and study there to realize her dreams. And she managed to do that. And while in Paris, she lived very frugally. She had a tiny apartment. She had very little to eat. And it didn't stop her. And she finished her degree first in her class, even though she was a foreign student for whom French was a second, actually in her case, a third or maybe even fourth language.
Wow. You mentioned in your book about a relationship with a family. I think so that means she was the only girl. I think that's what you just mentioned. Had brothers and in order, I believe in what you just said. But I think is she rose above the top because she was extremely ambitious and she was resilient that she was not going to not achieve her dream. Can you talk about that a little bit?
I think she really had the support of her family. I think that was extremely important in her growing up, that they all loved and encouraged her. Can't emphasize that enough for any child, how much of an advantage that gives a child. The loss of her mother was terrible, but she was resilient enough to get through that. And she was interested in everything. She studied very hard. She loved to read. In fact, when she was little, the older siblings, she was the youngest of 5 children, and the older ones would find her reading, and they would try to distract her or tease her about always having her nose in a book.
It's many of us like that. And, you also write in your book about her husband, Pierre Curie. What role did he play in helping her shape her desire goals, move forward, and achieving the success that she would ultimately receive?
Well, he was really the perfect husband. So she met him. She had an opportunity to perform a study for the French steel industry, and it involved a lot of work with magnetism. And someone introduced her to another physicist who was very knowledgeable in that field, and that happened to be Pierre. And she went into that meeting certainly not expecting to meet a life partner, nor was he looking for romance, but they immediately felt a kinship with each other. They had similar political outlooks. They were both so interested in science. They were really drawn to each other, and it didn't take long for them to become more than scientists sharing an interest. In fact, I thought it was so interesting. The French word for magnet is aimant, a word that also means loving. And the fact that she met the love of her life while working on magnetism struck me as just a charming coincidence. She went on from that work to do doctoral level research in a new mysterious field of physics. Starting in 1895, X-rays were discovered. The following year, it turned out that uranium gave off a strange kind of radiation that no one had been aware of before. But most scientists were still so interested in X-rays that they weren't looking into this new kind of radiation. And she decided she would experiment with that for her doctoral degree.
Hold that thought. We got to take a station break, but
Okay.
This is so interesting. We're gonna come back and we're gonna pick it up. And I tell you what, this is interesting, and we're gonna dive right back in there. If you want to be part of the conversation, all you have to do is just pick up the phone, dial 1-888-344-1170, or you can go to whichever platform you're watching us on, go to the comments, ask any question that you might have, and I promise you, we'll get you an answer. It's your life, and we'll see you shortly after the break.
There's more stories of greatness to help you overcome adversity coming up on It's Your Life with James Cooley.
Craving a slice of Chicago right here in Temecula wine country? Then dive into legendary Chicago deep dish style pizza at Rosati's Pizza Pub. Piled high with gooey cheese, rich tomato sauce, and your favorite toppings, Rosati's delivers the taste of the Windy City right to your table or front door. Enjoy the cozy pub atmosphere and an impressive selection of Temecula wines. Come on down to Rosati's Pizza Pub for your slice of Chicago right here on Rancho California Road, or order online at myrosatis.com. Rosati's, where Chicago deep dish pizza meets Temecula charm.
Really get a chance to know who you are. And once you know who you are, you truly know who you are, love who you are. Love who you are. You're a masterpiece. Love who you are. Love who you were born to be. Love me some me. That's what I'm talking about. When you leave high school, you gotta know today or tomorrow, hopefully today, what your plans are. Hopefully, there is no bad decision unless there is no plan. Create, collaborate, commit with confidence. Commit with what? Commit with what? And everything that you do.
Noah Dingley here, producer of The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life. And the new audio version of James' book, Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet, is a must-have. James shares his true life story of struggle and success in America. It's both a cautionary tale and a roadmap to achieving the American dream. Get the new audio version of Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet by James Cooley on Amazon.com or wherever audiobooks are sold.
The James Cooley Show. It's your life. That's right.
Of life's circumstance and dare to become an overcomer because a bigger, better, and more impactful life awaits you. Get the new audio version of his book, Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet by Dr. James Cooley on Amazon or wherever books are sold.
Yeah. Dr. James J.C. Cooley.
Hello. Welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's Your Life. And today, in case you just now tuning in, we got this absolutely extraordinary, fantastic guest who's sharing a lot of things that I think is so important, in past generations and also generations to come. We're talking about her book, The Elements of Marie Curie. And what she's talking about is how to glow on radius lit, a path for women in science, and how that is from the person that she's writing about, how that influenced many women, and not just women, but the world. And the understanding that this is something science need to be sorted through for everybody, especially women. And Todd, I'm curious to get your thoughts on this topic so far.
It's a very interesting topic, and it's close to my heart because right down the street from the studio, we actually have Marie Curie Elementary, and that my mom was a teacher there for 30 years. We have an elementary school named after Marie Curie.
How about that? There are schools and hospitals all over the world named for her because because of her achievements in science. So she and her husband actually discovered 2 elements, and one of them, radium, for many years was the cure for cancer.
Wow.
And they didn't know at the beginning how dangerous it was, how the exposure to it would affect people, which is also why it was good for killing cancerous tissue. But she used her knowledge to not only help people, but train other women. And during World War I, she realized that it would be the first warfare where X-rays were possible. So when the war broke out, she outfitted a van with X-ray equipment and drove to the front and was able to prove to the doctors how beneficial this new technology was. But there too, no one knew how dangerous it was. When you go to the dentist and you get X-rays of your teeth, they put a lead apron on you and the dentist walks out of the room. She was doing these X-rays wearing a cotton smock and doing it all day long. They had no idea. So over the course of her life, the work she did contributed to the cause of her death.
Wow.
Also, during the war, I want to say she was only one person. She took her 17-year-old daughter along to do that same kind of dangerous work. And she trained 150 French women to become X-ray technicians. And these were not science-oriented women, just citizens who, like her, wanted to be helpful, wanted to do something to aid the war effort. So they took her 6-week crash course in how to be an X-ray technician and human anatomy. And they went off and did that same vital work.
Wow, this is very interesting. So can you kind of talk about Marie Curie's friendship with Albert Einstein and the respect they had for each other? That's part A. And part B is, her role in the community of science with other luminaries such as Niels Bohr and Max Planck. And how does that influence her work and legacy? So let's just start off with Albert Einstein.
Great, because they really were friends. And maybe we'll get to this later, but after Marie's husband died, about 5 years later, she fell in love again. And the object of her affections was a married man. And that caused a scandal. But Albert Einstein had befriended both of them and publicly defended them. She met Einstein at a meeting of the top physicists in the world. So this was an invitation-only meeting. It was held in Brussels, in Belgium. And she was already a Nobel Prize winner, the director of a laboratory, a widow, and the first woman professor at the University of Paris. So it was not surprising that she was invited to this very top-level meeting. And all of the other attendees were men. And this same group, sometimes different scientists showed up, but the group met about every 3 years for the next 2 decades. And through all of that time, she went to, because she was invited, she went to every one of those meetings and was still the only woman there.
Wow. So, what did she sacrifice personally to pursue her career? And how did that really affect her family life?
Well, she certainly sacrificed her health.
Mhm.
She also, because of her fame and her responsibilities, she traveled a lot. So she was sometimes separated from her children. She had 2 daughters, but they had a very strong bond. And the proof of that is the letters they wrote to each other, which have all been published in French. And reading those letters and being able to quote from them in my book helps show that, yes, a woman can be a great scientist and she can be a terrific mom.
Wow. Most definitely. I mean, we can do it all, actually.
Well, sometimes telling people that they can do it all works against them. And it certainly wasn't easy for her to do it all. One great advantage she had was her father-in-law, who was a widower and came to live with them to help care for the children. So they had this wonderful extended family. Today, the biggest problem facing women scientists today is really childcare. And there was a study recently that showed that about 40% of women scientists in the United States drop out when they have a child.
Wow. What are your thoughts on that, James?
Wow. You know, this is such an interesting conversation. We're going to take a station break, but I want to get back and I want to pick it back up, Michelle. And I want to try to get as much of this interview in as possible because it's so educational, it's so inspiring. And I know my producer back in California is probably out of popcorn right now. Because, you know, I am. Todd, I told you should have grabbed 2 extra bags.
You're right.
You know, I tell you, we're going to take a station break, but we're going to come back. We're going to pick it up. We're going to continue this great discussion with Dava. And it's not too late to be part of the conversation. All you have to do is just go to the comments, ask any question that you might have, or pick up the phone and call Todd 1-888-344-1170. It's your life, and we'll see you shortly after the break.
There's more stories of greatness to help you overcome adversity coming up on It's Your Life with James Cooley.
A black man's point of view is...
Hello, I'm Dr. James J.C. Cooley from the United States of America, and I am here to just say, first of all, I'm so happy and honored to be honored to be in the Coffee Book 2023, Unified Brains Aid, and the other organizations. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to be a part of this collection.
Craving a slice of Chicago right here in Temecula wine country? Then dive into legendary Chicago deep dish style pizza at Rosati's Pizza Pub. Piled high with gooey cheese, rich tomato sauce, and your favorite toppings, Rosati's delivers the taste of the Windy City right to your table or front door. Enjoy the cozy pub atmosphere and an impressive selection of Temecula wines. Come on down to Rosati's Pizza Pub for your slice of Chicago right here on Rancho California Road, or order online at myrosatis.com. Rosati's, where Chicago deep dish pizza meets Temecula charm. Temecula wine country? Then dive into legendary Chicago deep dish style pizza at Rosati's Pizza Pub. Piled high with gooey cheese, rich tomato sauce, and your favorite toppings, Rosati's delivers the taste of the Windy City right to your table or front door. Enjoy the cozy pub atmosphere and an impressive selection of Temecula wines. Come on down to Rosati's Pizza Pub for your slice of Chicago right here on Rancho California Road, or order online at myrosatis.com. Rosati's, where Chicago deep dish pizza meets Temecula charm.
Dr. James JC Cooley.
Hello. Welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, and I tell you, I'm thoroughly enjoying this interview right now. And one of the things that I want to get out right now, before we dive back into the conversation, is the book. The title of the book is The Elements of Marie Curie, How the Glow of Radiance Lit a Path for Women in Science. I want to get this out because I want everybody to be able to go out and get the book. And so, David, can you tell our viewers and listeners how can they get the book? What's some of the things that they need to do, and just tell them the key points, takeaways of what we are discussing right now.
They can get the book wherever they buy books, at a local bookstore. They can order it online. It's readily available. I like to listen to books when I'm reading something for pleasure. Mm-hmm. And there will be an audio book too. It's not out yet, but the book is available now. Have my copy right here.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, what takeaways do you want the readers to get from this book?
I want them to know that women have always been interested in science, that it's okay to be interested in science, that Madame Curie, although she was a brilliant scientist and deserves our admiration, she was never the only woman doing science. She's one of the few to get credit for what she did. Mm-hmm. Very often, a woman's name will somehow disappear from the published report, not be mentioned when it comes time to give out the prizes, even though she was involved in the work. Many women scientists talk about sexual harassment on the job now. There are difficulties that women face that men tend not to face. But she didn't have that problem, certainly. And she provided a space for women who had heard about her and who were interested in becoming scientists to actually come and work in her lab. She also traveled to teach this new science of radioactivity at universities in South America, in Europe. She was really committed to education and experimentation. And some of the women who came to work for her or study with her actually formed an international group that was just to provide scholarship support and other kinds of encouragement to women to study abroad, to work in people's laboratories, and then be able to go home to their own countries with the knowledge they had acquired.
You know, it's so interesting that there are so many, historically, there's so many women who have given so much as far as, you know, being involved in, you know, whether it's science, whether it's, you know, math. You know, remember that movie Hidden Figures about those three mathematicians?
Absolutely.
No one knew about them until the movie came out. So there's a lot of unsung heroes historically that it's such a great thing that not only young women, but people across, just people in general, could get inspiration from. What do you believe that Marie Curie wanted to leave behind as far as her legacy?
She wanted to show that she had understood early on that this new phenomenon, which she named radioactivity, was an essential part of certain elements. This was very hard for people to believe at the beginning. And then she wanted to further the study of these new kinds of elements. And she did that. She was able to create an entire institute called the Radium Institute that was not only her legacy, but the legacy she wanted to build for her husband, because he had died before he ever had a really good laboratory situation. And she wanted to tell the world these important things and give credit for the discoveries where that credit was due.
Now, Dava, you are a freelance writer and you write for the Scientific American. I hope I'm pronouncing that properly.
Well, I don't write for Scientific American, but I edit a poetry column. So people send in poetry about science, and something appears every month in the magazine. It's about to go into its 6th year, and I'm really excited and proud of that.
Poetry about science. I never heard of that. Can you kind of
I
dive
know.
a little bit into that, exactly what you look for during your review?
Yes, so I look for poems that really work as poems. So they have an emotional impact. They may have rhyme and meter or not, but there is a very compressed use of language that's thrilling to read. And then they're really about science. So they may teach you something or make you think about a particular scientific phenomenon in a way that hasn't occurred to you before. And people are very surprised to see poetry in a science magazine.
Wow.
But some of the poets who've contributed are scientists themselves.
Poetry in the science magazine, that is different. I tell you what, we're down to about the last two minutes of the show. Can you tell our viewers and listeners what are some other projects that you are working on that they might need to know about?
Well, right now, I'm just still working on this book, talking about it, hoping that people will read it. I've just been invited to talk to a group of 500 high school chemistry teachers. That's really exciting to me. And I have the monthly poetry column in Scientific American. So those things are keeping me busy right now. I would love to write another book. I'm 77. I don't know that I could keep doing this forever, but I'm still having fun.
As long as you're having fun, that's what it's all about. I mean, that's probably going to be interesting talking to you. Teachers. But I tell you, how can people get in touch with you if they want to enlist your services?
I have a website, davasobel.com. People can write to me there, and I'm the only one who reads the mail, and I'm pretty good about answering the mail too.
Wow. And what is that? Give that.
So it's my name, DAVASOBEL.com.
Wow. This been an amazing discussion, interview, and wow, I'd love to get you back on again later to continue this conversation. So I want to thank you. I want to thank you so much for taking the time to come on the James Cooley Show. It's Your Life. As amazing discussion. I'd like to thank Dr. Michelle Cooley for putting together another absolutely fantastic show. I'd like to thank our viewers and our listeners for tuning in to the James Cooley Show. It's Your Life daily, from Monday through Friday, live on all these different platforms at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And always reach out. I want to thank KCBQ. They are absolutely fantastic in everything that they do. But our viewers and our listeners always dream big, think big, and be big at everything you do. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. It's your life, and we'll see you.
Result.